Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting with a countdown of the top 7 most valuable half-dollar coins ever made. These coins aren't just pocket change, they're worth thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, this list might surprise you. Let's jump right in. We're diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American history, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar. If you've ever come across one of these coins, whether it's in a drawer, a coin jar, or handed to you as change, you may want to take a closer look. Some of these coins are worth more than you think, and in some cases, a whole lot more. Let's go back in time for a moment. In 1976, the United States celebrated its 200th birthday, the bicentennial. To mark this historic occasion, the U.S. Mint released special commemorative designs for the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. The half-dollar featured the familiar image of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse, but the reverse was completely new. It showed Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the birthplace of the Declaration of Independence. Below the image, the dates read 1776 to 1976, signifying 2 centuries of American history. Now, what makes these coins so special? First, let's talk about types. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollars were struck in 2 main compositions. The regular circulation coins were made of copper-nickel clad. But there were also special collector's versions made of 40% silver. These were not released into general circulation, they were sold in proof and mint sets. If you have one that feels heavier or has a silver edge instead of a copper line, you might be holding a silver version, but the real value comes in the details. Let's start with condition. Coins that are uncirculated or in proof condition, meaning they've never been used and have a sharp, mirror-like surface, are much more valuable. A circulated copper-nickel 1776 to 1976 half-dollar might only be worth 50 cents to a couple of dollars. But an uncirculated or proof version, especially one with no scratches and full original luster, can go for $5 to $15, sometimes more. Now let's talk silver. The 40% silver bicentennial halves are where things get really interesting. Depending on the silver market, even a circulated silver version can be worth $6 to $10 in melt value alone. But if it's uncirculated or part of a special mint set, the value can jump to $20, $30, or even more for a flawless example. Proof silver versions are especially prized by collectors, and deep cameo versions, those with strong contrast between the frosted design and the shiny background, are among the most sought after. But here's where it gets even more exciting: rare errors and varieties. Some of the 1776 to 1976 half-dollars have mistakes from the minting process. These could include double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, or even missing elements. One famous example is the No FG variety. Normally, the initials FG, for Frank Gasparo, the coin's designer, appear near the base of the eagle's tail feathers. On some bicentennial halves, these initials are missing due to a worn die. Coins with this error can fetch over $50 to $100 depending on condition. Another hot area is grading. If your coin is professionally graded and certified by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC, and it receives a high grade like MS67 or above, it can be worth hundreds of dollars. Some top-grade silver-proof bicentennial halves have even sold at auction for more than $1,000. Let's talk about the current market. In 2025, the interest in bicentennial coins is still going strong. With the rise of social media and collecting apps, more people are getting into coin collecting, and demand for rare and high-quality bicentennial coins has increased. Silver prices have also gone up, which means the melt value of silver halves has climbed with it. If you've got a drawer full of these coins, it might be time to go through them with a magnifying glass and a coin scale. Here's a quick recap of what to look for. First, check the edge of your coin. If it looks silver and lacks the copper stripe, you may have a 40% silver version. Second, look for proof-like surfaces and clean details. That's a good sign of a higher value coin. Third, check for any errors or missing design features, especially the No FG variety. And finally, consider having your coin graded. If it looks flawless, it could be worth a lot more than face value. So the next time you come across a 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. What may appear to be just another coin could actually be a piece of American history, and a valuable one at that. We are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1973 Kennedy half dollar. This coin may seem like ordinary pocket change at first glance, but stick around because some versions of this coin are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. Let's start from the beginning. The Kennedy half dollar was first minted in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy, who was tragically assassinated in November of 1963. Just months after his death, the United States Mint released the first half dollar with his portrait. It quickly became a symbol of remembrance, and many Americans chose to keep it as a keepsake rather than spend it. Now fast forward to the year 1973. By this time the half dollar had been in circulation for nearly a decade, but something important had changed. Silver was no longer used in regular issue half dollars. From 1965 to 1970 the coin was made of a 40% silver composition. But beginning in 1971 all regular circulating Kennedy half dollars were struck using a copper nickel-clad composition. That means the 1973 half dollar does not contain silver in most cases. However, that does not mean it's worthless. In fact, there are some incredible exceptions that make certain 1973 half dollars extremely valuable. Let's break it down. In 1973 Kennedy half dollars were struck at 3 different United States Mint facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Each of these produced different versions of the coin. First we have the 1973 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollar. This version has no mint mark and was produced for general circulation. Over 64 million of these coins were struck. Because of that, the average 1973 Philadelphia half dollar is still only worth face value in circulated condition. However, in uncirculated condition, especially with a high grade such as Mint State 65 or better, the value starts to climb. A brilliant uncirculated example can be worth between $5 and $20. But the real value lies in coins graded MS 67 and above. These high-grade examples are rare and can fetch over $100 at auction. Next is the 1973 D Kennedy half dollar struck at the Denver Mint. This version features a small D mint mark on the reverse side. Similar to the Philadelphia issue, the Denver coin had a large mintage of nearly 83 million coins. Again, in circulated condition it is generally only worth 50 cents. But just like the Philadelphia version, a coin in mint state condition with full luster and no scratches or wear can sell for a premium. MS 66 examples typically go for $50 to $100, and MS 67 coins can bring as much as $200 or more depending on demand. Now here is where things start to get really interesting. The San Francisco Mint also struck 1973 Kennedy half dollars, but these were not made for circulation. Instead, they were part of special collector proof sets. These coins were struck using specially polished dies and are known for their mirror-like finish and sharp detail. They were only available in government-issued proof sets for that year. The 1973 S-proof Kennedy half dollar can be identified by the S mint mark. Over 2.6 million proof coins were made. Because of that, these are not considered rare, but they are highly collectible in pristine condition. A perfect proof 70 deep cameo example can sell for over $100, but here's where things get even more exciting. There are a few extremely rare 1973 Kennedy half dollars that were mistakenly struck on silver planchets from earlier years. These error coins were not supposed to exist, but due to leftover silver blanks, some half dollars were struck on 40% silver planchets from previous years. These minting errors are very rare and very valuable. If you happen to find a 1973 Kennedy half dollar that weighs more than the standard copper nickel-clad version, which should weigh about 11.3 grams, it could be one of these rare silver error coins. A genuine 1973 silver planchet error has sold at auction for over $4,000. Additionally, there are other types of errors and varieties to watch out for, including double dies, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets. These error coins vary in value depending on the severity and eye appeal, but some have sold for hundreds of dollars. So what should you be looking for if you come across a 1973 Kennedy half dollar in pocket change or in an old coin jar? Start by checking the condition. Look for any signs of high grade such as sharp details, no scratches and full original luster. Then look at the mint mark. No mint mark means Philadelphia. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco. If you suspect it might be silver, weigh the coin and compare it to the standard clad version. Use a scale accurate to the tenth of a gram. A silver planchet will weigh around 11.5 grams or more. Now let's talk about current market values as of 2025. A circulated 1973 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark or with a D mint mark is generally still worth 50 cents. However, uncirculated examples in mint state 65 condition can sell for $10 to $30 depending on appeal and demand. MS66 and MS67 examples range from $50 to over $200. Proof versions with the S mint mark in deep cameo condition can be worth $50 to $100, and the rare proof 70 coins can go even higher. Rare error coins including silver planchet errors, double dies and off-center strikes can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially when certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGCSO. In conclusion, while the 1973 Kennedy half dollar may not contain silver in most cases and is generally common in circulated form, it is far from being just pocket change. High-grade coins, proof examples and rare mint errors can all bring big money. Whether you are a serious collector or just getting started with coins, the 1973 half dollar is a piece of history that is definitely worth learning about and looking for. We're diving deep into one of the most underappreciated coins in circulation, the 1974 Kennedy half dollar. On the surface, it might seem like just another piece of pocket change, but in the world of numismatics, this coin has stories to tell and hidden value that might surprise you. Let's start with some history. The Kennedy half dollar was first minted in 1964, shortly after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It replaced the Franklin half dollar as a tribute to the late president. The public response was overwhelming. Millions of Americans hoarded these coins as a way to remember JFK, and it quickly became a symbol of both national pride and personal collection. By 1974, 10 years after the coin's debut, the design remained largely the same, with John F. Kennedy's profile on the obverse and the presidential seal on the reverse. The difference by then was in the composition. Originally minted in 90% silver, by 1971 the U.S. Mint had removed silver entirely from circulating half dollars. So the 1974 Kennedy half dollar is made of a copper-nickel clad composition, no silver content, at least not in regular circulation coins. Now here's where things get interesting. Although most 1974 half dollars are common and worth only face value in circulated condition, there are some exceptions that make collectors' hearts race. The most notable one is the 1974 D double die obverse. This is a rare error variety, where the lettering and the details on Kennedy's profile appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. You can spot a genuine 1974 D double die obverse by closely examining the words, "In God We Trust," and the date itself. If the doubling is clearly visible, congratulations, you might be holding a coin worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars depending on its condition. In fact, one example of this coin in near-perfect condition has fetched more than $1,000 at auction. Even in moderately good condition, this error variety can sell for $300 to $500. Always look for the D mint mark on the reverse side, just above the O in dollar. Now let's talk about the standard 1974 Kennedy half dollar minted in Philadelphia, which does not have a mint mark. In circulated condition, it's generally worth about 50 cents to $1, depending on where. But in uncirculated condition, especially graded MS65 or higher, you could be looking at values between $10 and $40. The San Francisco Mint also produced a special collector's edition, the 1974 S-proof half dollar. These proof coins were struck with extra care and are often highly polished with mirror-like surfaces. They were never intended for circulation and came in special mint sets. While most of these proof coins are worth around $5 to $15, coins graded PR69 or higher by third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC can reach up to $30 or more. But here's a little-known twist: some 1974 S half dollars were struck in silver. These are 40% silver coins made for special collector sets. If you come across one, its melt value alone is around $5 to $8 depending on current silver prices, and they can fetch more based on their condition and appeal. So what's the current market like for 1974 half dollars? Prices can vary depending on the coin's mint mark, condition, and rarity. Here's a quick breakdown. 1974 half dollar from Philadelphia, average circulated, around 50 cents to $1. Uncirculated Philadelphia coin, MS65 or higher, $10 to $401974, D half dollar, standard variety, $1 to $5 in circulated condition. 1974, D double die obverse, $300 to $1,000 depending on grade. 1974, S proof clad, $5 to $15, more if graded highly. 1974, S silver proof, around $8 to $25 or higher for top grade examples. Collectors often overlook half dollars, which makes them an exciting hunting ground for people searching coin rolls, estate sales, or old collections. And while most 1974 half dollars might not make you rich overnight, finding that rare double die version or a high-grade proof could definitely be a jackpot moment. So next time you see a Kennedy half dollar in your change jar or at a flea market, take a closer look. That coin might be more than just 50 cents. It could be a piece of history, and possibly a small fortune waiting to be discovered. We're diving into the hidden history and surprising value of the 1977 Kennedy half dollar, a coin you might have in your pocket change right now that could be worth a fortune. That's right, some of these seemingly ordinary coins have been known to fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So stick around, because we're uncovering everything from the coin's origins to the rare errors that make collectors go crazy and what you need to look for if you want to cash in. Let's start with a bit of background. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It was meant as a tribute to the late president, and it instantly became a patriotic symbol. The public response was overwhelming. People weren't just spending them, they were collecting them. But by the 1970s, half dollars had mostly disappeared from everyday use. Most people preferred quarters or dollar bills, and half dollars started piling up in banks and federal storage. Enter the 1977 Kennedy half dollar. These coins were struck at two major U.S. mints, Philadelphia and Denver. The ones made in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while the ones from Denver have a small D just below Kennedy's neck on the coin's obverse side. The San Francisco Mint also produced proof versions for collectors, and these came with a beautiful mirror-like finish. Now here's the thing. In circulated condition, the 1977 half dollar is usually worth just its face value, 50 cents. That's if it's heavily worn and has no unique features. But when it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. If your 1977 half dollar is in mint state condition, meaning no signs of wear and very few marks, it can be worth a lot more. In MS65 grade or higher, these coins start selling for around $20 to $50. But that's just the beginning. Let's talk about rare varieties and errors, because this is where the big money lies. One of the most sought-after types of 1977 half dollars is the double die variety. This happens when the coin is struck twice with a slight misalignment, causing some elements of the design, like the lettering or date, to appear doubled. Collectors love this kind of mistake. A verified double die obverse or reverse can boost a coin's value up into the hundreds of dollars depending on the sharpness of the doubling and the coin's condition. Another valuable error to look out for is the off-center strike. If your coin's design is not perfectly centered, say, it's shifted to one side or a portion of the design is missing, that's an error that makes it far more desirable to collectors. Depending on how extreme the off-center strike is, some of these coins have been known to sell for several $100s. There are also examples of clipped planchet errors. That's when a piece of the coin is literally missing because it was cut improperly at the mint. A clipped 1977 half dollar in good condition can bring in $100 or more at auction. Now here's where things get really interesting. In high mint state grades, especially MS67 and above, the 1977 Kennedy half dollar becomes extremely rare. These coins have been professionally graded by companies like PCGS or NGC and certified to have nearly perfect surfaces. Only a small number have ever achieved such grades, which drives up their market value significantly. One MS-67 example from the Philadelphia Mint has sold for over $1,000. And a top-grade Denver example recently went for more than $1,500. So how do you know if your 1977 half dollar is valuable? Here are a few things to check. First, look at the overall condition. If it looks brand new with no scratches or wear, you could be holding something special. Second, check for errors like doubling, off-center strikes, or clipped edges. These mistakes make your coin one of a kind. Third, check the mint mark. While both Philadelphia and Denver coins can be valuable, certain errors are more common at one mint than the other. Fourth, consider getting your coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs money, but for potentially valuable coins, it's a worthwhile investment. A certified grade can skyrocket your coin's market price and make it easier to sell to serious collectors. And finally, keep an eye on the coin market. Prices change depending on demand, rarity, and the economy. Coins that were worth $50 5 years ago might be worth $200 today. And with the rising interest in coin collecting and alternative investments, these coins are becoming more desirable than ever. Before we wrap up, here's a quick recap. The 1977 Kennedy half dollar is more than just pocket change. While most are worth 50 cents, the right combination of condition, mint mark, and rare error can send its value soaring. Some examples have sold for hundreds, even thousands, of dollars. So the next time you find a half dollar, don't spend it just yet. Take a closer look. That little piece of metal could be your next big discovery. We're diving into one of the most overlooked but potentially valuable coins in your pocket change, the 1983 P. Kennedy half dollar. You might think a coin from the 80s doesn't hold much value, but you'd be surprised. Some of these coins are selling for hundreds and even thousands of dollars today. Yes, you heard that right. Let's talk about the history, the hidden varieties, the valuable errors, and how much your 1983 P half dollar might be worth today. Stick around till the end to hear about the rarest version of this coin and why it could change everything for you. History of the 1983 P half dollar. Let's take it back to 1983. The United States Mint was producing the Kennedy half dollar at 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's the catch. In 1982, the Mint stopped releasing half dollars for general circulation. They were minted, but they were primarily sold to collectors in mint and proof sets. However, due to increased demand for coinage in 1983, the Mint decided to reintroduce the half dollar into circulation. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 34 million half dollars that year. That's where our focus is today, the 1983 P. Kennedy half dollar. Even though that sounds like a large number, only a fraction of those coins have survived in pristine condition. Why the 1983 P is valuable now. Let's talk about value. At face value, it's just 50 cents. But in the collector's world, it can be worth much more. The key lies in its condition, rarity, and certain minting errors. The first thing collectors look for is the coin's grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Anything above MS 65, that's mint state 65, is considered gem condition. These are very hard to find, especially for circulation coins like the 1983 P. Another reason for its value is the lack of mint sets in 1982 and 1983. That's right, the US Mint did not issue official mint sets those 2 years. That means fewer collectors preserved uncirculated examples. Most 1983 half dollars were used in everyday transactions, leading to wear and damage, rare errors and varieties. Let's move on to the exciting part, errors. The 1983 P. Kennedy half dollar has some error types that can bring big money at auctions. One of the most famous is the double die obverse, also known as DDO. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly, creating a doubling effect on the lettering or the date. If you find a DDO with strong doubling on Liberty or the year 1983, you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds of dollars. Another highly sought-after error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't perfectly aligned with the press and is struck off-center. Depending on how far off it is and how visible the date remains, these can fetch between $50 and $500 or more. Also watch out for clipped planchet errors, where a part of the coin is literally missing due to a miscut blank. These are not as common but can be very collectible when found. The No-FG variety. One of the rarest types of the 1983 p half dollar is the No-FG variety. This refers to the missing initials of the coin's designer, Frank Gasparo. Normally, his initials, FG, appear on the reverse, to the right of the eagle's tail feathers, between the leg and the tail. But due to die polishing or excessive wear on the die, some coins were struck without these initials. The No-FG variety is extremely valuable in high grades. These coins can sell for over $1,000 in mint state conditions. In circulated grades, they still command a solid premium. High-grade coin values. Let's talk numbers. A typical 1983 P. Kennedy half dollar in circulated condition is worth between 50 cents and $2. But in uncirculated condition, we're talking MS 63 and higher, values jump to $10 to $25. In MS 65, the coin can fetch between $50 and $100. Now, for MS 66, prices go up fast. Expect to see prices around $150 to $300, depending on eye appeal and luster. In MS 67, we're talking about serious money, up to $1,000 or more. That's right, a 50-cent coin could be worth $1,000 if it's in superb condition and properly graded. As of this recording, one MS 67 Plus example sold at auction for over $2,500. That's the kind of hidden treasure people dream about. What about proof coins? Remember, the Philadelphia Mint doesn't make proof coins. So if you ever come across a 1983 p half dollar with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details, you're either looking at a high-quality specimen or possibly a satin finish coin from a special collector's set. Either way, it's worth investigating. Always get it graded if you're unsure. Authentication and grading. If you think you found a valuable 1983 p half dollar, your next step is professional grading. Companies like PCGS and NGC are the top-tier grading services. They'll authenticate the coin, assess its grade, and preserve it in a tamper-proof case with a label indicating its value category. Remember, the coin market values certified coins much higher than raw ones, especially when it comes to high-grade or error varieties. Current market trends. Let's talk about today's market. The coin collecting hobby is seeing a major resurgence, especially online. More people are going through pocket change, coin rolls, and inherited collections. As demand increases, so does the value of rare coins like the 1983 p half dollar. Collectors are especially eager to get high-grade specimens from the 1980s due to the limited mint sets, making these coins harder to find in top condition. Prices for these coins have steadily risen over the past 5 years and show no signs of slowing down. Even error coins from this year, like off-center strikes and No-FG varieties, are commanding impressive premiums at major auctions and online marketplaces. Closing. So, there you have it. The 1983 P. Kennedy half dollar may not look like much at first glance, but it could be hiding some serious value. Whether it's a high-grade gem, a rare error, or a No-FG variety, this coin proves that history and money often go hand in hand, sometimes right in your pocket. Check your change, look through old rolls, and dig through those dusty coin jars. You never know, your next coin could be worth a fortune. We dig deep into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and valuable collectibles that might just be sitting in your pocket change. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and often overlooked piece of American coinage history, the 1989 D. Kennedy half dollar. You may think it's just another coin, but trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. From its historical background to current market values that might surprise you, stick around because you don't want to miss what this coin could be worth today. History and background. Let's start with a bit of background. The Kennedy half dollar was first minted in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It was created as a tribute to the beloved president, and it quickly became a cherished coin across the United States. Initially, these half dollars were made of 90% silver, but by 1971, due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. That's the same material used in the 1989 D half dollar. The D Mint mark stands for the Denver Mint, one of the main coin-producing facilities in the United States. In 1989, the Denver Mint struck over 23 million Kennedy half dollars. So yes, it was widely produced, but here's where it gets interesting: not all 1989 D half dollars are created equal. Some rare varieties and high-grade examples can be worth serious money today. Coin design details: on the obverse of the coin, you'll see the iconic portrait of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. This image is one of the most enduring in American coinage. The reverse features the presidential seal, an eagle with a shield on its chest, holding an olive branch and arrows, symbolizing peace and strength. This side of the coin was designed by Frank Gasparo. The edge of the coin is reeded, and the coin itself is 30.6 mm in diameter and weighs 11.34 grams. Why some 1989 D half dollars are valuable? Now let's get to the good part, the money. Why would a coin minted in the millions be worth more than face value? It all comes down to condition, rarity, errors, and demand from collectors. First up, condition. If your 1989 D half dollar is in circulated condition, meaning it has wear and tear from everyday use, it might only be worth around its face value, 50 cents. But if your coin is in uncirculated or mint state condition, things start to change. Collectors are willing to pay more for coins that are in pristine shape. In mint state grades, especially MS65 and above, the value can rise dramatically. A 1989 D half dollar graded MS67 by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC can fetch anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on the coin's eye appeal and luster. In fact, one example graded MS67 sold for over $800 in a major auction. That's a huge leap from its face value. Now let's talk about errors and varieties. Coin collectors go wild for mint errors, and the 1989 D half dollar is no exception. Some known errors include off-center strikes, double dies, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. These types of errors are extremely rare, but if you happen to have one, the value can be astronomical. We're talking hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Also keep in mind that a full strike, where all the coin's details are sharp and clear, adds premium value. Coins with strong detail on Kennedy's hair, the eagle's feathers, and full lettering around the rim are in higher demand and can bring in top dollar. How to check the value of your coin? So how do you know what your 1989 D half dollar is worth? First, check the coin for its condition. Is it shiny and crisp, or dull and worn? Second, look for any unusual features like doubling, off-centering, or strange coloration. Third, consider getting it professionally graded if you suspect it's in high mint state or has an error. Services like PCGS and NGC are trusted in the numismatic community and can authenticate and certify your coin's condition. You can also compare your coin to recent sales on auction sites like Heritage Auctions or eBay, where rare high-grade coins often change hands for big money. Current market value in 2025. Now let's look at the current market in 2025. As of now, standard circulated 1989 D half dollars still trade for 50 cents to $1. Uncirculated coins in MS63 to MS64 are bringing in $5 to $15. Mint state coins in MS65 and MS66 can sell for $20 to $75. In MS67, prices range from $200 up to $800 depending on the specific characteristics and appeal of the coin, and for those ultra-rare error coins, the sky's the limit. A double die or off-center error could easily bring in over $1,000 from a serious collector. Where to look? And final thought: so where can you find these hidden treasures? Start by checking old coin jars, your grandparents' collections, or even rolls of half dollars from your local bank. Coin roll hunting is a great way to discover valuable finds without spending a fortune. You never know, that ordinary-looking half dollar in your change might actually be a rare gem worth hundreds. Closing, the 1989 D Kennedy half dollar might not seem special at first glance, but as we've seen, the right condition, the right error, or the right grade can turn this humble coin into a real payday. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, it's always worth taking a second look at your coins. You might just be sitting on a small fortune. We're diving into one of the most talked about modern coins, the 1998 P. Kennedy half dollar. At first glance, this coin might look pretty ordinary. But believe me, some of these coins are worth way more than 50 cents. In fact, a few of them have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and we're going to find out exactly why. Let's rewind a bit and talk about the history of this coin. The Kennedy half dollar was first minted in 1964, just months after President John F. Kennedy was tragically assassinated. It was a way for the nation to honor him, and ever since then, this coin has held a special place in American numismatic history. Now fast forward to 1998. That year, the U.S. Mint struck Kennedy half dollars at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, so you'll find coins with a P mint mark and coins with a D mint mark. Our focus today is on the 1998 P, the one minted in Philadelphia. In total, more than 21 million 1998 P Kennedy half dollars were made. So yeah, it's not rare just by mintage numbers. It was struck for circulation, meaning it was meant to be used in everyday transactions. But here's where things get interesting. Most of these coins were never really used. In fact, by the late 90s, the Kennedy half dollar was barely circulating at all. People just weren't using them to buy groceries or gas. They were being saved, hoarded, or forgotten in rolls. But here's the twist. Some of these coins, especially those in uncirculated or proof condition, have become highly collectible. And there are some that are worth big money. Let's break it down. If you have a 1998 P Kennedy half dollar in average circulated condition, it's probably only worth its face value, 50 cents. Maybe a dollar or two to the right buyer. But in higher grades, things get spicy. A coin graded MS-65 by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC can fetch anywhere from $10 to $25. That's already a solid return for a coin you might have gotten in change. Now, if you have a coin graded MS-67, that's mint state 67, you're talking about a much scarcer example. Coins like that can sell for a few $100s at auction. In fact, one sold for over $300 not long ago. But that's not even the top of the mountain. Let's talk about the proof version. In 1998, the U.S. Mint also issued a special silver proof set that included a Kennedy half dollar struck in 90% silver. And yes, there's a version of this coin that collectors are always hunting for, the 1998's matte finish Kennedy half dollar. I know we're talking about the 1998 P today, but you should know about the matte finish because it often gets mixed up with the P coins. The matte finish version was only included in the special Robert F. Kennedy commemorative sets, and only about 62,000 of them were made. That coin can sell for over $400, and sometimes even more if it's in top grade. But back to the 1998 P, what really makes it valuable are three things: condition, strike quality, and errors. That's right, mint errors. There are some error coins from 1998 that are extremely valuable. We're talking off-center strikes, double dies, and even planchet errors where the coin was struck on the wrong type of metal. These errors are rare but can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the type and severity of the mistake. One of the most popular errors is the double die obverse. That means the front of the coin, where Kennedy's profile is, shows signs of doubling, especially around the lettering like Liberty or In God We Trust. If you've got one of these, you're in luck. Some collectors will pay a serious premium for a genuine double die. So how do you know if your 1998 P half dollar is worth more than face value? First, check the condition. If it looks brand new and shiny with no scratches or wear, it might be uncirculated. That's a good start. Next, look for errors. Use a magnifying glass and check the details closely, and finally, consider getting it graded by a professional service. A coin graded MS-66 or higher can jump in value significantly. As of right now, in the current coin market, prices for 1998 P half dollars in top condition are still strong. Collectors are always looking to upgrade their sets with the best possible examples. While common circulated ones are everywhere, the high-grade and error coins are becoming more and more desirable as the years go by. And remember, coin values fluctuate depending on the economy, demand, and market trends. So if you've got one of these coins, hold on to it, or better yet, get it appraised and graded. You might be sitting on a tiny treasure. Alright folks, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the 1998 P. Kennedy half dollar and want more deep dives into valuable coins hiding in your pocket change, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep checking your change and happy collecting.